going to be like an introduction or anything?
Hello, this is Tim Clark with End Times Matrix News, and we're getting started here on a special broadcast with Matthew Wright on the Bible codes. I just wanted to do a couple brief introductory, about five minutes, and then we're going to jump right into the Bible code that we're going to be doing today, related to the fallen angels and Remphan and the CERN and things like that. So it's going to be really interesting because it's very pertinent. Basically, yesterday was very interesting. It was Walpurgis, and we saw the messenger spaceship collide into Mercury. And I thought that what's the symbolism behind that? Folks who follow what I've been saying with the Lucifer is Coming to Town little videos will know that there's a show called The Messenger, and it was Lucifer being cast down in a meteorite crashing to the earth. Now we have this messenger symbolism of crashing into Mercury, which is another space ritual by NASA. Today is also May 1st, the Illuminati's 239th birthday. We went over that we have September 23rd encoded in that date, which throws us into September. That's a possibility because everybody's looking at September for interesting things. We had the Baltimore riots. What I found that was interesting with that is Tribulation Now had put out a poster talking about a WouijaCon. A WouijaCon was going on during the beginning of that thing. And we had pointed out last week with Kathmandu that there was the International Tattoo Festival with the Shiva or the Kali poster was their main emblem there. So, you know, I know nobody's picking up on those things, but those are spiritually significant because you track this bad spiritual stuff to your town, and you get interesting things happening. Then we had last night we had Freedom Fighter put out a video on the demonic entities in the CERN portal, and he carried on about those. So we have a lot of spiritual activity going on right now. Let's see. Anthony is starting on his book number 3, so he's getting engaged with that at this time. Chris and I will be following up next week with Jade Helm, more in-depth stuff that you haven't heard about Jade Helm. Also exposing some hidden things about the Dig series that hasn't been shown. Let's see, and let's see, anything else that I need to address right now. And we'll also be talking with Michelle Kennedy with her. She's done a lot of work with the CERN Strong study. So we're going to go over a lot of the CERN-related material from the Strong studies that she's done, and so she can explain in depth what she's seeing from the Strong's research. So that's really great, and we're really lucky to have Matthew here. The code searcher, yeah. We got the code searcher here, and this is very timely information. And I know Matthew has been under actual spiritual attack regarding bringing this message to us.
I would just say it's been more like a spiritual warfare training, on-the-job training, because because I believed in these things on a certain level, but to experience things on a level is a whole other thing. And when you see it happening and people around you and chaos going on and people raging, and it's not really just localized either. We're talking about across the board. So it's not just what I've experienced, it's just what I've seen. There's other people that have seen it too. I was on the phone with a brother witnessing the same thing at the same time. It was a demon of rage, going off on me, and it was very intense. And when I came into this place, it shook them up, and it was two guys in a brawl for one thing, and they got attention on me, and I just stayed cool. I recognized what was going on, and I just paraded off, and eventually they calmed down, and the situation was under control. But for a few minutes there, it was very intense, and I knew what was happening, but it's so surreal at the moment, because when you're looking in their face and you could see murder in their eyes. These guys were raging, and it's at that moment where you're like, This is not a game. This is not a game, man. These things are real. And I'm talking about Remphan, by the way, demons.
Yeah.
The disembodied of the Nephilim. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Christians don't want to talk about stuff like that because it's way back in Genesis 6, and you know, of course,
Yeah, it's over. It's over. Yeah.
the Old Testament means no longer valid, right? Is that what old means? No, but that's not what I call it. It's the Tanakh, and I'm not trying to make light of God's word, but people just think that the Old Testament has no value anymore, and it's not about that. It's a whole book. It's the end and the beginning. The Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old revealed. It goes together. So when you got in Revelation, fallen angels being dealt with, and in the beginning, same kind of thing. As it was before, so it is in the end. As it is, so same kind of thing. Yeah, we found some serious patterns here, and I don't think it should be an issue just put to the side and ignored, like I was doing. I was trying to avoid any kind of confrontation. This is confrontational, by the way, if you don't know. It will stir some people up. And I was kind of shocked at the number of patterns that we found in the manifestation of things. I had somebody, and this is no joke, I can produce a witness. Somebody friended me on Skype as I'm searching and looking for things about fallen angels and angels, and lo and behold, angel, and uses the number 33. It comes up on the screen. I saved it, but it was so bizarre, man, that I started wondering. Somebody got in my computer because it was just, yeah, it was really crazy. And then the 33 kept popping up in other places, like that's Mount Hermon, where these angels come down, and it's on the 33rd parallel. It's also a place where it's believed that that's where the Transfiguration was, which really is interesting because now got a couple things going on. Jesus actually transformed here. Angels are coming down here. Are we talking about a portal, like is spoken about in Ezekiel? I mean, Enoch, and I believe that's the case. And there's several of them all across the world. And why they're there, well, if God intended, I can't tell you that, but I do know that there's a war going on way before us. It's still going, and we're caught in the middle of it, and we're just like, I don't want to say pawns that, to demean our existence, but it's really, we're being manipulated like puppets with these principalities. Everybody around us, either whether light or dark, it's like a cosmic chess match, like Marzulli says. And yeah, man. So literally, we're digging on this, and there's several tables that came out. I don't know if we're going to get to cover them all, but there's one in particular I wanted to cover, and that's the Remphan return. Now that just kind of came to me. Just sitting here, I was already working on something else, on a Nephilim that I had, and I just kind of thought about that and went and found it, and there it is. And we started digging in it and looking at where it was. Interesting things about it is, there's a battle of Gideon, and had something to do with somebody called Marduk. There was a land grant mentioned about Marduk in the same area. He was a Kassite, by the way, king of Babylon. This is 1171 to 1159 BC. This is, Mesopotamian Babylonian stuff right there, and verified in the Bible, by the way. And this is in Judges 7:15 through 25, where Gideon defeats the Midians in companies of 100, 300. He has 300, but they're in companies of 100. And then in those companies, they're broke down even further to squad teams or fire teams is what we'd call them in the Marines. Just different units, smaller units, but it's also in thirds. So he would have 33, 33, 33 in these units, and there's your 33 and 300. But not only that, there's 300 swords, 300 jars, 300 acres of land, by the way, that was granted. And it just goes on and on with these 300s. Not only that, 777 is the other pattern we've been seeing. It's got a connection in this table, as a matter of fact. If I can remember how to screen share, we'll go ahead and go to do that. Let me see. Let's see if this works. Can you see this?
Yeah, we'll just highlight your screen.
Yes,
All right, here's the access term right here, and I know we're kind of just jumping right in it, and not getting into the, some fundamental of it, but what we're looking at basically is a section of the scripture on a cylinder that is at a special width of 25676. That is 25,676 letters in between letters. So from one letter to the next, going in this way, so it's spiraling around into the next. So we got equal letter distance. Yeah. So what we have is a matrix that forms, and it's different Bible verses. You can see on the side there's, it seems like the number just kind of jump around. There's no consistency. Well, that's because there are different books and different chapters based on that width we see down there. And I want you to notice the center of that, the very center, which would be the top letter up here. What number that is? It's 177741. That 37. It's also sevens all in the table as well, but yeah, that and the 300 really started appearing everywhere. But this is the access term right here. We've got words like the Nephilim. This is backwards, by the way. The root word is Nephal, these three letters, which means the fallen. And I left on the Vav and the Yod because it gave me 5 letters, which is statistically in my favor, because a lot of this is based on probability and statistics. So we've got of the fallen right here with wickedness is that word. This is interesting. Savah Nefesh, which is 7 souls, with the word Marduk right here. Right
yeah,
there.
that Marduk one is one that keeps jumping out at me, and that's why that's always interesting. But go ahead.
This right here, which is the Chaldeans, if you use the Yod and a Mem in there, but just these 4 letters says the demon right there. That's pretty interesting. We've got Nephal again here, the fallen of the days. Philistines in here, of course, they are part of the giants, and that's the bulk of where we're at is that type of text.
Can I ask a question real quick? The Nephal, the way it's spelled there, is that any way related to Nepal, like we just saw what Kathmandu?
That I don't know, my brother.
Okay.
I just
throwing it out there.
Yeah, it could be. Now the word is Nephal, and it's a noon, a pei, and a lamed. That's the root word for Nephilim, which would be the plural for the fallen.
Okay.
And by the way, it's here. So is Giborim and a couple of other things. Up at the top, right here, we've got Nephilim. You see Nephilim, the ayim, as plural. So we've got 3 brothers of the Nephil, 3 brothers of the fallen, right here. Also connecting with the hay of the access term, and this is pretty cool. That's the abyss right there.
Wow.
The abyss. Now look at this. Inside that skip between letters is the word teraphim. Teraphim is the word for detestable things.
Wow.
Right there. Also, Hermon, Mount Hermon is up here. You see Mount Hermon right there. And also, Hebrew is read from this direction to this direction, so from right to left instead of left to right. But if you look right here, what we have is Jehovah. Each verse is read this way, but if you split it right here at the O's and read this way, opposite of this way, we have a sort of like a light darkness thing going on here, because we've got Jehovah and the fallen opposing one another right here. In this verse here, this is something that stands out, is in Tav Shin I He. That's this year we're in right currently now. The best occurrence of a date or year is right here. A skip of one, which means it's right in the plain text. And by the way, that word in Hebrew, which is sometimes has a vav, it means to rescue or to save or to free. Isn't that amazing? And then you have the word Shemitah, of course, which means a release, or of course the connection to Jubilees. Up here we have the war in heaven, and also connected to it is 77 right there. Also war and Shiva. You know, Shiva in Hebrew means 7. Did you know that?
No, I didn't
Shiva.
know that.
Shiva, yeah, is 7. Running through with the shin of Shiva, it's almost a tongue twister, is judgment, Meshephet, and written backwards, Nephilim. It's also here, written backwards, Nephilim.
Now, so the Zayin letter is the 7th letter, right? And that's the isn't that on the Teflon? They said that's the world that's to come. It's reserved for the Zayin letter.
The Haba Olam, the world which is to come, and Zion is what you're talking about. It is 7, and we're fixing to also be in a 777 year, which is coming up too. That's another thing. In Hebrew, it's 5777 coming up. Symmetry is the other thing that was here. You know, when we were watching this thing on the CERN,
Yeah.
they had this thing they were doing called Symmetry. It's this movie, I guess, or documentary. Symmetry is here several times.
Wow.
It actually crosses the term there.
I wonder what that means. Why they use it in there, why it pops up.
Is Anram sound like an ancient name? Chris, you're better at this than me. I didn't know if Anram or Anram was a name. Does it sound familiar?
How do you spell it?
Aleph Nun Resh Aleph Mem, which would be A-N-R-A-M in English, essentially for phonically.
And Amun is Jupiter.
This may not even be a name. It just seemed like it because these letters stacked on from different things. Like this is Symmetry with the orange letter, and then this is in the days of Noah right here with the Mem, and then I forgot what was that last.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Jump on in, brother.
Yeah, Symmetry is another one of their theoretical models. It's similar to quantum entanglement. Symmetry essentially means that there are two objects residing in different dimensions that are able to affect one another simultaneously. So if you affect one object in this dimension, you are simultaneously affecting an object, identical object, in another dimension.
So would it be
symmetric?
Right, I was about to say that. So it's like a mirror effect, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, that's interesting because we found that in here, and that's bizarre because this is like, you know, quantum mechanics and that level of science and math is beyond me, guys. Seriously. But to find that in here.
Yeah. Remarkable.
Yeah. Symmetry here. Look at this. We've got the word gate right here.
Wow.
With symmetry. Not only that now. Symmetry. And behold, the days are coming. Right here.
Wow.
Also, crossing the top, the gate. That's with an H. D in there, which makes more letters crossing here, which makes the word Anram. I'm not sure if that's a name or not, but it's there.
You said Ram like R-A-M or?
A-N-R. Anram.
Okay, I keep thinking of Ayn Rand
Okay.
and all that stuff, you know, Ayn
Okay.
Rand and Rand and all that, but I don't know if that's connected.
Got Nephilim here, or the fallen with the king of Syria, right there, part of Daniel's. Every one of in the Daniel statue is part of the Antichrist spirit. It's the vessel of that time, the superpower of that time. We've got from CERN in the red letters here. From CERN, the abyss, Savadomim, 7 days, crosses there. Behold, the days are coming. It's here 3 times, by the way. Also, look at this: the gate of Yahweh, the gate of Yahweh, right here. Yeah.
When you say 7 days, do you see any correlation to 7 days to anything else there in terms of CERN? That perhaps there's a 7-day process?
When I see that, I think more of the 7 days of the tribulation. Now, there could be parallel meanings of it. You could very well have connections to it. You know, CERN is in this area.
That's amazing.
You know, so are the Nephilim. So it's so surreal. It's you know, it's hard to put your mind around it. We got the stars of heaven. By the way, stars in the Bible usually represent angels. That's why we see in Revelation the star that falls is referred to as a him. It's given a gender, and that is a fallen angel. When we're talking about stars, that's here a couple times, up at the top, and I believe down at the bottom. Or actually, that may be in the other table.
On your graphic here, you have 2 solid lines, one above and one below, the green and then the white.
Right here?
Is that? Yeah, your green and your white solid lines up above.
Oh yeah, the verses. The verses.
The
there.
main. Okay, so that occurs on all of your codes.
Yeah, well, what happens is I go from verse to verse and see if there's any relevant connections or anything that seems to be connected to whatever we're looking at. And see, we're looking at something encoded, so everything is in context to the code. You know what I mean?
So those are just reference points for verses.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly,
Gotcha.
and it's usually something that's going to have something to do with Raphaim or Nephilim or whatever the context is. Which so we're seeing a layering effect. So, for instance, you know, you have what it says on the surface of the text, and then you have what's encoded in the text. So it's like another witness, in other words, to what we're looking at. Now, let me just say this too. So, codes are not for predicting future events. That would be divination, and that's part of witchcraft. Now, God can use these things to confirm, and I believe that's one of the purposes He has for the codes. Is to settle things that Scripture doesn't settle, and it usually does when you have conflicts of Scripture. Usually, there's 1 or 2 more verses that'll settle the matter.
Mm-hmm.
But in the hermeneutics of codes, and looking at ELS and you know, skips and patterns and things like that, the methodology is different, and we're seeing so many anomalies. Just for instance, in this table, that is beyond coincidence. It's beyond just accident that these things are in here like this. Mm-hmm. Future events that's been here, we've just found concerning current things. We're seeing CERN and the spiritual things it's awakening is these demons we're talking about. And by the way, they're not little green men from outer space. They're aliens. They're independent of God's creation. We're talking about aliens that are fallen angels, demons, Raphaim, all together make up this darkness, this dark enemy that we have as believers. some really serious stuff here, man. Like I said, the warfare, as soon as we started looking at this, just ramped up big time. And it was a blessing to have believers here closer to me when we were doing this, because you want to be covered.
Yep.
You want to be covered when you don't want to do this kind of stuff when you got things in your life that are keeping you exposed. You know what I mean? This is
open doors. You don't want to have open doors when you're dealing with this kind of stuff.
Right, and the enemy will get in and wreak havoc in your life. But this was. I knew this was important when that started happening. When I started seeing manifestations in around me, I knew this had to get out. But let's just read these 3 verses, and then I'll show you another table I was working on over there. This is this first one's in Leviticus. You see, Vayikra. Oh, sorry about that. It's been a while since I've used. Can you still see my screen? Is it still sharing?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay.
We're all on your thing, so yeah.
Good. 23rd chapter, and I started at 31. Oops. And it goes. This is. It's actually talking about the Sabbaths going through here, but the date that appears this year happens to be there. So I thought that was significant, that the year, it must have been something in this chapter that was going to stand out. So I just started reading through it, and it started talking about months and dates. If anything sticks out to you guys, let me know. But this is what it says, and I'll just read from 31. Ye shall do no manner of work, and it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month, even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day, the 7th month, which I know that's Tishri, shall be the Feast of Tabernacles. For these 7 days unto the Lord. And on the first day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work. And one thing I know, guys, about these holy days is they mean something to God. And because they mean something, Satan cannot stand that. So it is from my experience that things usually, in the sense of the dark ones, they usually want to act up on God's holy days, as well as their own that they have, like today, for instance. But in particular, these others as well. We've seen clear evidence of that. And one of those things is the 17th of Tammuz comes to mind. We're currently in what's called the counting of the Omer, leading up to what's called Shavuot, or Pentecost. And this is when Moses was on the mountain. And he comes down, and the people are worshiping Baal. They're worshiping a calf. And this is called the 17th of Tammuz, or the weeping of Tammuz. And there's a connection to our country, folks, in that. And the date happens to be the 4th of July. And the year that we're celebrating, and it just happens to be, 5776? Is this one we're working on? Yeah.
Yep.
And that's on the, of course, the money with the pyramid. It's very significant. And these patterns with the Shemitah, the 7, the breaking up of Jubilees, the 7 sevens, it's just, it's all laid out here, man. And I don't know if you believe anything in blood moons. I get people that kind of think it's crazy for me to talk about stuff like that, but there's anomalies that are very rare and cannot be ignored, and that is those of the holy days falling on blood moons. According to the codes, it's the 7th tetrad, but there's arguments that there's been an 8th, or is an 8th, and I can tell you I can't find it in the codes. So for me, it says 7th, but they mean something, and God's telling us to pay attention. as in the days of Noah, like we said just a minute ago. That's what we're in. What was going on in the days of Noah? I mean, it was these very beings wreaking havoc. I mean, they were teaching mankind all kinds of, I mean, bad stuff. Just think if they had the technology today, where we would be. That's why God had to bound them up and do something about it, because they were just. If they were left unchecked, we wouldn't be here today. Right now, they would have destroyed us a long time ago. So. That's why we find 4 bound in the river Euphrates. And by the way, this is all the same area that we were just reading about here with Marduk and the Mesopotamia and Babylon. This is all the same area. The Tigris, the Euphrates, this is where these fallen angels are. And by the way, if you wonder who the 7 trumpets are in Revelation, those are fallen angels as well. I mean, excuse me, the 7 thunders that speak out of order. Very little sleep, guys, so bear with me. So
you're saying the thunders are related to the fallen angels?
Yes, I do. I do believe that, because it decodes reveal that, and also holy angels don't speak out of order. God's angels don't speak out of order. Those angels spoke out of order. It's clear that they spoke out of order, and their words were told to be sealed up. So if you read or listen to the book of Enoch, and hear what's going on there, and then read Revelation, and then read Daniel, you can see a bigger picture. This is much more than the fall in the garden. There was a greater fall that happened before that with these angels that set everything else into motion. And of course, God did know man was going to fall, and He had a plan from the foundation of the earth, of the world, and that was, the atonement lamb, the sacrificed lamb was to be slain, and I can show you that as well as in Genesis, by the way, the resurrection of Christ, Yeshua. Don't mean to get on the ram, guys. We'll get on to this next one. This one has Turah and war in it. I thought that was something that stood out because I'm finding that in other tables as well. Just notice wickedness right on top of it. So Turah, which means to shout or to blow the trumpet. War is coming right here. So this is Jeremiah. Did we skip one? Let me just check. Nope. Back down. We'll go. It's Jeremiah 49:2 is where we are. And here it is. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire, and then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith the Lord. Howl, Heshbon, for Ai is spoiled. Cry, ye daughters of Rabbah, gird you with sackcloth, lament and run to and fro by the hedges, for the king shall go into captivity, and her priests and her princes together. Going into the backsliding daughter. And into the children of Ammon, Edom, and Dedan, the calamity of Esau. So that's what we're talking about here, running right through there. And of course, this is where Marduk is with the demons. You've got wickedness there, and it seemed like we had 3 verses, guys. So I did miss the second one here. Let me read that one. It's almost amateur hour here, huh?
No, we're enjoying this.
It's been a while since I did hang out, so let's see. That's Isaiah 13 is where we are. Verse 11. And I will punish the world for their evil, and for the wicked of their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, and I will make man more precious than fine gold, even the man with the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall be removed out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, as the sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn unto his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. And there's a war coming. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
let me ask you about the war because I've watched a lot of your videos and there was you said that Sukkot is that kind of like Magog?
Absolutely. That is traditionally when is believed Gog and Magog will take place, is Sukkot. That's not a, that's kind of common knowledge with Orthodox Jews, is the possibility of war.
Is that like September 28th of this year?
When is Sukkot, this next one coming up?
Isn't it, there's a blood moon, I thought it was Sukkot, September 28th.
Yeah, it is, and it's the super blood moon, and it is over Israel this time. I'm looking because the Gregorian dates kind of lap and change, but you're right. The thing about this also is look where we are. It says at 17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which regard silver not as for gold, and they shall not delight in it, and their bows and their dash their young men into pieces, suicide bombers. They shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. The Babylon king of glory, the beauty of the Chaldeans. Excellency shall be when his God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. We're talking about the fall of Babylon, the spiritual Babylon it is, which is exactly, guys, what this country is a part of.
And that's also the connection to Marduk also, and the Persians, Iran, it looked like there, what you're referencing there. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know they support the terrorists who do all the bombing.
Oh yeah, and this is the whole area, man. This is
and the Chaldees, of course, is Babylon,
and Syria and Iran and Iraq and Jordan and that whole area. This has been a central point of this since the beginning. I mean, when Joshua and Caleb were going into the land, this was going on still after the flood.
So what's your take on the Shemitah? I guess is the 9/13, and then we just talked about 9/28 being Sukkot and the super blood moon. Right. As far as your understanding God's holy days and holidays, and when you see a period like that with so much stuff, happening in it, how do you look at that? I mean, it's.
I see the parallel, or excuse me, the struggle between light and dark happening in those times. I mean, it's mentioned in the scripture that on God's feast days, His holy days, that the windows of heaven are opened up, the portals of heaven are opened up, the books are opened, and for instance, Rosh Hashanah, it is for 10 days up into Yom Kippur, and then the books are closed. What I've seen in my own experience, and I don't know about anybody else, but documenting the patterns of things that happen on those times. And it's really, I think symbolic that the weeping of Tammuz falls on the 4th of July. That is very significant because we're talking about idol worship, and that is the day America celebrates its independence. Now, the fall of America is in the codes, and it indicates this year. And 2016 being a very significant year for war. And
now, isn't 2016 in it's September for Jewish calendar?
Right. That will be Rosh Hashanah. Let's see.
Is it September the 13th?
Yeah, this is Tishri we're talking about. So it would be the first of Tishri, would be the 14th. That's 2015. 2016 would be different. Looking at the wrong calendar, but it's in Tishri.
Okay. I was writing that down. I got a lot of notes here. I'm just blown away. So.
Yeah, and I'm looking at multiple years, and layers of notes with an extra set of hands. Praise the Lord. I could not do it by myself. I'm serious. So yeah, and I've seen a trend for a couple of years with these two dates that seem to be over and over indicating a transition. It's the same kind of thing with 2012. You know, they were talking about the Mayan calendar, things like that, and it wasn't that the world was ending. I believe the Mayan calendar, and also I believe that that's from fallen angels, was counting down to a transition point.
I
is
agree.
what it was.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a transitioning.
The Giza pyramid is 5,776 inches tall, and then the 2012 mark on the Mayan calendar stops before the capstone. And the phoenix represents the capstone, you know, the Ben stone.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, is 2016 is that something that they're looking at to start war? Is that what the Pope is going to announce, a new temple, or you know, that's going to start war? So I have all this stuff going in my head about the dates.
This is my theory, and this is not thus saith the Lord, but what I've been seeing and praying in these codes for a couple of years, and seeking God on the answers. The temple. What we got to keep in mind is that mountain, by the way, Mount Moriah, and how these mountains are special. You know, God has a special mountain. These angels chose, you know, Hermon to come down on. Why they're significant, I don't know. But God has His own mountain. That's Moriah. It was called a threshing floor at one point, which is interesting because we're told in prophecy that's what it would be like in the last days. Israel will be like going on a threshing floor. And what you do on a threshing floor, you pull a tribulum, which is tribulation. It softens the grain. It's a processing in the harvest of grains. But that's where the focus is, the Temple Mount. The two brothers, the two seeds. One is up on the mountain still. That's Ishmael. He was a covenant son, by the way. God didn't want to bless him, but Abraham asked God, and he did it anyway. And there were consequences to that, and that's the Ishmaelites, the Muslims that we see today. But they both have a claim to that mountain by covenant. So that's why the war, I believe, will start, is because of that mountain. They're very close. I mean, if they got the word today, they could literally start building tomorrow and be up within weeks, not years, weeks. This is pretty much a prefabbed temple. They have Kohanim that are putting it up and taking it down, and even doing sacrifices as part of their training. Yeah, they're sacrificing, and so technically it's going on already. The sacrificing. So
they're doing test runs right now.
Right. They're learning how to do, because it has to be kosher. There cannot be any animal cruelty. There has to be a certain way an animal's killed. It cannot be shot. It can't be hung. It has to be a certain way, and a rabbi has to do it, and or it's not acceptable. Same thing with the bulls. You know, you've heard about the red heifer.
Yes.
They're finding these things, and so all, you know, and the utensils, the garments, everything is in place. And yeah, I think it's going to be a sparking point for this war. And by the way, the whole thing is probably concession, land division for a spot on the mount. In other words, you know, a peace offering from the Pope would be the menorah that Titus stole.
So is that why the Pope's showing up in Jerusalem is your context?
Absolutely.
Is that they cut a deal with him to get back some of the artifacts or something?
I think so. And I think it's a goodwill gesture, and we're going to see some sort of coexistent kind of interfaith abomination kind of thing, where these religions are coming together. And yes, Catholicism is not Christianity. If people didn't know that, that's not Christianity, but most of the world thinks it is. It's
well, they got nice fish hats though.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice things too. The money there, but it's an apostate, and I know it offends some people, but you got to come out of that. That is one of that's the beast. That's the mystery Babylon. The woman on the beast. It's exactly what Satan did to hijack the church.
Amen.
Right up at Constantine. He lost at the cross and hijacked it at Constantine.
Well, that whole thing with leaven in the loaf all the way throughout, leaven is sin entering in, and once it runs its course, that whole Old Testament thing with leaven would just be it's a fascinating study just in of itself. With sin enters in and totally distorts and eventually kills off what started off as good, so it's
Yeah. That's what sin is. Just like a cancer. It spreads and it gets worse, and things get out of control. Did we finish this table? I think.
So I had a question on Moria. Moriah. Sorry, I'm thinking Moria from the Lord of the Rings thing. They had a mountain in there called Moria in the Lord of the Rings. Well, yes, Moriah is the correct term. I'm just saying I remember that. Is that where the Temple Mount is, or is that not where the Temple Mount is?
Yes, it's Moriah. It's a Temple Mountain.
Moriah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where the light came down a couple of years ago. That whole orb thing, which is being used by some Islamic people that was Muhammad that came down, because there is a prophecy about that. But.
Yeah. Did you ever study what's the stone called, Chris? Where Abraham was the Dome of the Rock supposed to be built over that stone. And I forget the story exactly how it is, but
it's supposed to be where Muhammad ascended into heaven from that
Muhammad.
stone.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the stories. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the
ones. One of the things that surround that stone.
And we'll get into other stories on that later, but I just want a clear picture on that. Okay. Let's see. All right. You guys got any questions that we haven't got to ask yet?
I do have another table that's kind of interesting. Sure. If you wanted to, we could go through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This one's called Abaddon, by the way, or Apollyon.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
So it's pretty cool where this is. But the thing about it is, again, this is not a game. What we're doing is very serious stuff. And looking into this week had effects. So I would imagine everybody needs to be covered in prayer right now about the things we're about to talk about, because we're going sod, by the way, is deep, hidden in Hebrew. That's where we're fixing to go. And in this table you're going to see the whole flood thing. It had lasting effects to it, even to the book of Revelation. Let me see if I can get this.
Well, I do think that we're all experiencing the hidden things of God being revealed to those who are seeking, who want to see them, Christians, and
not everybody can.
Huh?
Not everybody can either.
No, not everybody can.
They think I'm crazy. They call you crazy. Right. We're all crazy. But there are people that can see, so I know I'm not the only one.
Absolutely. We love this stuff. We love what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. So here's the access term, and I've talked about this before concerning the restrainer. The question of who the restrainer is. There's no indication that the Holy Spirit is the restrainer. There's no title used by the Holy Spirit as a restrainer. It's always the Comforter or the something along those lines. But what I did find was a mention of an angel or an archangel called Raphael. And you can see here those 4 letters are in line. He's here, say Raphael. This is the actual access term right in here, Abaddon or Apollyon, right here, starting with the Aleph of Raphael. And you'll see these highlighted blue. They're in several places. Or Elohim. Elohim in Hebrew is a plural form of Elohai, which is God. So this would be gods. It would be plural. Now we're not talking about when it says B'nai Elohims, the sons of God. It is not saying that we are gods or little gods, like I've heard interpreted before on the internet. That is not what we're talking about. I believe what we're seeing here are actually angels in this matrix, and there's several of them, more than normal. Have a look at this. So here's our access term, and all the things stacked up in it. Abaddon is sitting in cast into the fire, right here. We're talking about a furnace that's bricks and mortar and all that stuff from what's Genesis, really, 11th chapter. Right behind that is a wall of blood, a blood wall, right here, and it's also blood, or dome, which is blood. Nefesh is soul, and we have the 3 basic letters that make beast, which is the 4 letters you see here, the beast, and there's 3 of the same right there. So you got beast and beast, Elohim, the Aharetz, the earth, and Atlas, which would be like a globe, Atlas, coming together. That's kind of cool
So
there.
Atlas is part of CERN, and Atlas holds up the pillars.
Really?
The mountains represent the pillars.
That's true.
Yeah, and see, now I was given search terms as I was doing this, so I didn't know what Atlas meant in as far as CERN, but that's really interesting. You know, Beast is in here a couple times. Of course, you see Nephal in different areas all over this. Enoch is in here, and by the way, I believe Enoch is one of the witnesses. This is the story of Enoch and Noah and Mahalalel and Methuselah and all, you know, the whole line right there. The Leviathan appears in that chapter 5 right there. Water, vertical there. The Kokavim, which is the stars up here. And I think this was the table that had them up at top and below. It did. Here we have down at the bottom the book of the stars. Sofra Hakamim. Hakamim. The book of the stars. Right there. Angels. Raphaim in here. Nimrod. Now, how about this? You've got Leviathan stopping at this noon, and then from this noon, Nimrod connected together. Leviathan and Nimrod connected together with the earth here. We got the Nephal, the fallen, blood, and water coming together at a 90-degree angle with Raphael right there. Blood and water. Gibor, or Giborim, this is where Giborim comes from. Gibor is the mighty one. Gibor is also here. The 3 sevens, 7, 7, and 7, tightly joined there. And this. So we got Raphael with that pay there, and we got an Elohim here. So this is Elohim, Raphael, that flies, that 4 letters there, that flies in the heavens. Hashamim, in the heavens. That's also in Revelation. There's going to be an angel flying in the heavens, preaching the gospel. Now look at this. Really interesting cluster of words and how this is. This is almost like a pictograph. We've got Elohim, and water joining them. We've got the water here and the water there. There's 3 sides that have water. Okay. On this side, we have what is Ha'adam, which is the earth, or it's the man right here. Then, with the ion in this, Nephal, the fallen, right inside that box. It's almost like 2 Elohims has got the fallen one inside of a box, a jail. We have the word restrained right there, restrained.
Wow.
How about that?
That's amazing.
Now you getting this imagery here?
Yeah.
That's more than coincidence. We've got an angel's name, Siriel, right here. Pharaoh, of course, I've seen Pharaoh and the king of Syria, king of Babylon. They're all part of king of Sodom. Shadowmare, you know, the battle of the 10 kings. These giants, when let's see, this is around the 14th, 15th chapter when they go into the valley of the Raphaim and things like that. We got Giborim here. um, Nephesh, the soul, Samael, who is another angel, fallen angel.
That's the one Chris has been researching on a bit.
It's a lot here, man. Every one of them that I've found it would be so many names you wouldn't be able to see, so I had to back out some of them, but I
Wow.
left a few.
I'd like to know all of them if
She
you.
would like them all. She has a whole angel's book just with everyone.
Oh, I collect old books, and I have some
Yeah.
very old books with someone, people that traveled the world, and they got all the information they could, about angels from every country and everything they could look into. So it's real interesting.
I forgot
But
what that was. It is very interesting, and I found, I believe it was 20 of the chief ones here. Tiriel, and there's Tamiel.
Wow.
Look at this. This is Nephilim, and this is what I call a convergence of the same word, Nephilim, in the text, and also right here. I think Azazel is here as well. Where is everybody? Oh, Mammon. Mammon is here. Akhenaten is here. We've got Mammon.
So don't worship Mammon, huh? Don't worship
Mammon here, stuffing with the earth. Also, Gibborim.
Wow.
Yeah, now look at this. Now this is interesting because you've got the beast, you've got Allah, and Nephil, the fallen right here. Also connected to Enoch. Enoch is a witness to these fallen ones. And by the way, that's why God took him. These fallen angels wanted to corrupt him and then kill him. So God took him into the heavenly witness protection program.
So you think Enoch's coming back to testify as a witness against these evil guys?
That's right. That's his purpose, and that's why there's
neat.
2 witnesses standing before God. They're standing because they're not done. They're not finished. They're not resting.
That's really neat. Yeah.
And listen, with the codes, it's not about who my dog is in the fight. It's about what the codes reveal. I don't really care who the witnesses were, Moses, John, but when you're doing a process of elimination kind of thing, it really comes out clear every time, and it's consistent with the pattern that these 2 did not die. The Bible says is appointed to man once to die, and they are both that escape death by what is known as the catching away or the rapture. Samael down here at the bottom of this cluster with the fallen beast, Elohim, the soul of a beast right there. Help me. What was this? No, that's not what this was. I can't remember. It's Meshifa. Again, guys, this is a lot for me to memorize.
Oh, I know.
This is a vertical anomaly. That's language. Excuse me, language and come on, help me. What is this, Lord? Give me 2. Memory is just not happening. Something about languages and perverting the languages or something right here. But this, by the way, is in the Tower of Babel story.
Boy.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Jeez.
Was it the mixing of languages? I'm sorry, I got too many notes, guys, and I lost my one on this one here. But I believe if it comes to me before we get over, I'll tell you exactly what that is. It was really interesting, that anomaly there, connected with Elohim, by the way, with Gibor or Gibborim. So again, these things don't just happen in these patterns just by accident. Babel? No, I don't think that's what it was. But I do see the languages and. Anyway, it'll come to me. We got Akhenaten up here, the 4-letter use of that as well, right there. The Bible character, Mahalalel, the days of Adam. In here, of course, that's where the fall was. Scanning here, make sure I got every word. What's this over here? I can't remember what that was either. What's my notes? Hang in there.
It's funny, Akhenaten almost looks out of place compared to the other angels.
I
Names,
know, and it's
it's kind of
vertical.
weird. It's very
Yeah,
weird to have that so out of place. It's like,
well, horizontal. I mean, with the vertical anomaly with um, mammon there, which is the
yeah, that's interesting too.
money.
So God and money, mammon, and well, that's interesting. Mammon must be a debt, money
Yeah,
related to debt.
well, absolutely, and that, I think that's what we're going to see is this collapse of our you
Yeah,
know,
the Shemitah kind of clears that whole mammon thing out of the way there, and then they really want to lock us in, well, lock in whoever's left with the New World Order system, in with these chips and garbage and, seals and stuff that they want to put on people.
I've got it. Okay, that's rebellion, guys. Sorry about that. That's
Rebellion. Oh, cool.
rebellion with Nefesh and Magog. Magog is one of the sons of Japheth, one of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Magog, right there. That's a problem here in the latter days. This seed right here.
What is it again? That one?
Magog,
Magog and
the Battle of
rebellion.
Magog. Yeah, and see, they believe. I'm talking about the Jewish people that this is a demonic spirit. It's not a geographical location. It's a demonic spirit with 4 characteristics, and they see this in of all people, our commander-in-chief, rebellion.
So the Jewish Torah, I mean the ones who
Oh,
believe.
yeah,
They,
yeah. It's also in the actual verses that talk about Gog and Magog. Ezekiel 38:39. It's in the verse itself. His name. The
do
long
you
verse.
have how much have you found on Obama and the Mahdi and the Antichrist in the same? Have you found?
With each one of them, they're all connected,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of. Uh, I know I'm looking at something that's multi-headed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I believe that there's a false prophet and an antichrist, 2 different um, entities. By the way, they're just vessels. Whoever these people
Yeah.
are, whether it's Bergoglio or Obama, they're
Right.
vessels. Nobody is inside of them yet. I think there would be a changing of the
Right.
guard, as you would say. That's when he's cast out, and when he's cast out, he of course has keys to a pit to let out another entity. And he's not letting himself out. He's letting out Azazel, which is
Hmm.
the chief fallen angel right under Satan. He is the wickedest of the fallen angels next to Satan, and he was put in a pit under a mountain in chains and everlasting darkness until such time as he's let out. And we're at that time, I believe.
Just other
Within,
questions.
within years, I would say, within 3 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's I know we're looking at Obama and it's interesting. I was this head wound aspect of what's they keep portraying. I know that the back in Genesis talks about the heel being struck by the serpent
Yeah.
and the crushing of the head.
Mhm.
Is that where they're getting this head wound thing from? Do you think?
I don't think so. I think that was done at the cross
Okay.
when Christ defeated Satan at the cross was right there. Now,
But do you think this is like a playing out, a overcoming the head wound with this Antichrist thing, or like they're saying we overcame that defeat and well, I mean, I'm reading a lot into this as my own
yeah.
line of thinking.
Well, what we're talking about is there's a series of prophecies, and some of them deal with Antichrist spirits that's already been fulfilled. For instance, you hear people say, "Well, he's not Assyrian." Well, technically, that verse has already been fulfilled, and that was with Cyrus. Of course, Babylon was Nebuchadnezzar. What we're going to see in the end with the two legs and the 10 toes is in the mixing, by the way, which is the DNA and the modifications they're trying to do. That's the iron and the clay mixing. It's not going to hold.
Yeah.
The 10 toes is, these, I think as well, there are going to be other
10
fallen angels.
regions.
Yeah.
There's the 10 regions that are already set up.
And they're all led by these of his entourage, these fallen angels.
That's what I was wondering with these Illuminati families, the 13 or whatever. Like that, a lot of people like talk about Prince William, and I think Dr. Pugh did good research on that. But maybe these, and I speculated with Chris, maybe these families, these 10 families that are in control, maybe it's just their representative that gets possessed by whatever these angels are, or something along those lines.
Right, and it's really speculating.
That's total speculation.
With all of this, but it could be. It could very well be. We're just kind of feeling things out. I don't think we're supposed to be in the dark, and the Bible certainly says God do nothing without telling first His prophets.
Right.
The Bible codes, I believe, are part of that process as well. Clear in Daniel that there was a purpose for it, and I think we're applying that to at least one topic today. Let's just read that there. This is actually
Okay.
Genesis 6. This is where it took place. Excuse me. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them as wives, which they chose. And do you know what it was that tempted these angels? Does anybody know? When it says they were fair, it was the hair of women. Their hair. Of all things. That's why Jewish women are required to cover their hair or wear a wig under rabbinical law, but that's why. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. It is believed by some that this 120 years reference here actually is the number of jubilees that we will see, 120. And it's also that's also based in some measurements found in the temple, 120, and cubics and stuff. There were giants in the earth in those days, Nephilim, and also after that, when the sons of God, the Benai Elohim, came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children unto them, and they the same became mighty men of old, men of renown. These are the Gibborim, the Nephilim,
the becoming
giants. Yes.
Yeah.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of his thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This is when it talks about the days of Noah, folks. This is it here. Every imagination of thought of his heart was only evil continually.
I've always been fascinated by that section there because it's imagination, which is, they really try to promote this, what's it called? The fake realities in the computers, the
transhumanism.
Where they live as avatars in a fantasy.
Yeah.
This imaginary. I'm not using the right term, but then the thoughts of the hearts, and I was going, how does the heart think? Well, it's Satan's always attacking us through our mind mostly.
Yeah,
but I always love how they use the heart as the thought and the thinking.
Well, yeah. The mind is a battleground. The heart is the casualty. It is.
He uses our mind as a tool, and
that's right. If you can hurt
but our heart is what Jesus said He hides His word in, that we might not sin against Him.
Yeah, and look at there. That's the Jubilee in there. I just saw that.
Right there. Cool.
Jubilee. Wow. So that's significant right there. You're right. But see, if the enemy can get your heart, he can distract your mind. So that's the two that go hand in hand. By the way, that's a angel in there, Uriel.
Oh, okay.
In white, Uriel, right there with
Is that
Jubilee.
A gate? I think it's a gate angel too. I'm not sure. I have to look that up.
I think you're right. And look how that comes with waters. You got Jubilee there. In that table.
Wow.
Let's go down to this next verse. And of course, we're going through the history. Very small skip, by the way. That's 364. I have to keep saying that a lot. If somebody could count that at the end of the show, I'd be interested in know how many times I said that. That may be a prize. All right, so this is Genesis 10 is where we are here. I think this is where we get into, Babel. Here we go. This is interesting. All right. Let's just start at 1. Let's get the... Now these generations are the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, Madai, Yavin and Tubal, Meshach and Tyrus. Does those names sound familiar? From
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tubal Cain and
Yeah.
and all kinds of interesting things in there.
Yeah. Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Yavin, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Donanim. These were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one his tongue after their families in their nations.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah, I've
sons of
done a breakdown of all their families of the bloodline. So
Yeah, and here it comes. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put,
Mhm.
and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Sheba, and Havilah, and Sapta, and Rama, and Septeka. And the sons of Rama, Sheba, Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. And that's where it starts with the Antichrist spirit right there.
hmm
This is what we're dealing with the Freedom Tower, that spirit.
Yeah.
Semiramis and Nimrod. And of course, Tammuz is the child. And where are we at? The weeping of Tammuz on the 17th, which is the 4th of July.
Okay.
Protection. He began with the mighty one on the earth. He was a warrior, a hunter. And at the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar. And out of the land went forth Asher, and builded Nineveh, which was a very wicked city that got redeemed, by the way. There it goes again. Rehoboth and Calah, and then it keeps on going with all these names, which you can see these giants here: Jebusite, Amorite, Gargasite, the Hivite, the Archite, the Sinite. All of them are the seed that had to be cleansed from the land. This is
there's
the
36
abomination.
races of them in the Bible.
Yeah, and look at there, Amram. There's a name that we were looking for, I think.
Yeah,
Right in the other
yeah.
Aram.
Oh, Aram. Anything
Yeah.
you see with Ram is the the Ram is the Jupiter, like when they have the Jupiter temples and the ram's horns and and Hiram is he has Ram in his name. Ammonites, Ammon are the same thing as Rams, and they are they're the same as that. Like the son of Lot. I mean, the ancestor of Lot and Ammon ben Ami. He was named. They were. He was not Ammon, but he was named after that as an influence from following that cult, if you will.
So I'm just scanning through there, and it's covering all, like she's saying, all the tribes and all the lineage. It's covered very good. And it talks about like Uz and Hul and Gether and Mash and Apheksad, Shelah and Eber, Pegleg, all these names of these tribes.
Yeah, I saw Canaan and Sidon also, and Sidonians is one of those interesting ones that pops up in study.
Elam is
there it is right there. There it is right there. Sidon, Gerar, Gaza. You're right.
There was a war with Umma, and there was Elam, and that has a lot to do with the Abzu bird. The Abzu. I wanted to ask you a question because you were talking about Azazel. Now, isn't the dragon the Antichrist?
I would think that is the beast. The dragon would be the system. I would think the religious system that come to swallow the religious / political system that come to destroy the.
Okay, because the Leviathan is the dragon, and it's also the snake, which is the Naga, and it's also the Abzu and the phoenix bird, and they're all the same thing. So they're not associated with Azazel. Then that's a separate thing.
Yeah, Azazel is another fallen angel, and it's separate from Satan. They're two different entities. That's why he's given the keys to the pit, and he goes and lets someone out of the pit that comes out with an army, essentially, is what it is, an army. Here we are, right above this white verse. Now we're in the battle of the kings of Elam, Tidal, the nation, Bura, Sodom. I think it's like 10 or 12 of them in the valley of the Raphims, I believe. 14th year, Shadalmer, the kings that were with him, and smote the Raphims and Asheroth, Karnim and the Zumins and Ham, the Emins of Shiva, Kirarathim, and the Horites on their Mount Seir, Amalekites, and this is mentioned by Rabbi Glazerson a lot as the modern day enemy of Israel is the Amalekites, the seed of the Amalekites. You hear him say that over and over. Yeah, Amalek is what he'll say. So yeah, we have all these ancient kings in these places that are, significant. Sodom and Gomorrah, this spirit of homosexual. We're dealing with that spirit in our country now. That's one of the problems of our country is this spirit. And all these fallen angels, Mammon, that's a big thing in this country for idol worship, is money, worshiping money.
Yeah, I said that to Chris, is when the dollar crashes, the God of this country will be gone, and people will flip out, because that's what they don't know anything outside of their God. And their loss of power, their loss of their whole reality will just be devastating to them.
That's right. And I'm worried about people that depend on the government for food, food stamps, things like that. The government-controlled stuff.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, you're right, and it's a tragedy, because there was a time where people in this country knew how to can foods, and how to grow gardens, and how to hunt for wild game, and that's really a small percentage now. So what do you do with a huge population that can't take care of themselves? Well, you saw it on a smaller scale in New Orleans with the Katrina catastrophe. That's what happened. Within 3 days, there is nothing on the shelves, and people are in carnage.
Stuff them in the Super Bowl stadium, and everything goes to criminality and craziness. Yeah. That spirit that we talked about with those angry guys that you were in the middle of takes over. That Bacchanalian, that Dionysian thing, that what the Freemasons promoted in the French Revolution, that insanity of those demon possession that takes over populations, and then you get that bloodlust. It's crazy.
Like a mass hysteria, like all at one time. And you're right. And it's an evil spirit that moves through the crowd. It's a Holocaust spirit, the genocide, murderous. It's very, very strong, and that's what happened in World War II with the Holocaust, I believe. That was technically could be Jacob's trouble, if you want to get technical. Israel has already served 7 years of trouble. Here in this white verse, excuse me, we're in the 14th chapter of Genesis, talking about Raphaim. You can see actually in the text, probably back over that way somewhere, but it's the 14th chapter. We'll start at 5, even 1, even though I start at 5 here, and it says, "And it came to pass of days of Amraphel, the king of Shinar, Arioch, the king of Elasar, and Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, entitled, and the king of nations." This is where they come into the battle. I think it's 10, like I said, and it's Raphims, the Asheroth. These names that you were talking about in your video, I saw about these names connected to the temple. Well, there was a time where the priest, they drifted away from God and started serving Baals. These are the Baals. Those names like Asheroth and things that you were talking about, it's from these gods, these ancient gods. They went back to them. If you remember Solomon.
I think we were in the book of, what was it, a book of Ezekiel or something, and they're talking about he's seeing these priests going into these private rooms in the temple, worshiping these all these gods, and he's just like shocked,
Yeah. Yes.
that the idol worship has gotten so bad he couldn't believe it.
Yes. Yeah. And he was given a perspective of the future, and I think this is what he's seeing. All of this will happen again. Of course, there's parallels. What happened before will happen again. The former rain, the latter rain. It's all parallels. This will happen again. I believe it's through the mixing of like I said, interfaithism. The two temples on a mount. The Dome of the Rock and a temple on the mount. The mixing of the two. That whole thing is there. So you even know in Daniel where it says when we were called to worship the image of the beast. I mean, this is Baal worship.
Yeah.
It's going to be there.
Yeah.
So
the whole idol worship thing's
Yeah.
fascinating. The first two of the Ten Commandments, all dealing with no other gods before me and no graven images, put it right at the first two, right at the very beginning. And here we go again.
Right. Well, that was changed by the Catholic Church. They
Well,
took
we
that
know
out.
we know they don't like that number two, and they just split covet into two covets, covet stuff and covet other people's wives or whatever. They did their two covets, and it's like, no, you guys, I see your Queen of Heaven sitting out in your front yard there, and your little grove over there, and this and that. And it said this is all the old ancient pagan stuff. Whatever.
Now, didn't they change quite a bit in the Bible? I mean, how do we get the real words? I mean,
Yeah,
without
that's
just
Chris's problem with researching, is always getting all these different Yahweh, Jehovah, and a bunch of Zebarath and all these other kind of things, and we're trying to go which are the Kabbalistic ones they're mixing stuff here, and which ones are the
Well, there was names of God before there was Kabbalists. There was Bible codes before there were Kabbalists. God didn't put codes in the Bible for Kabbalists.
right.
They just happen to be a group that manipulates it. It is using witchcraft with them. But listen, it is definitely a connection to the ephod, which is a priestly garment. I don't have a picture handy, but it's got stones on the chest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've got one.
Very neat.
Am I still sharing? Hold on. Here we go. It goes on the chest. It's
Don't the
12
Levi
stones.
priests wear those?
Yes, the Levi priests, and they would go before the holy fire, and on these would have the names of the tribes. So God would communicate with this. Same thing with the codes. God uses it to communicate and reveal things. He hid this from these very ones we're talking about. They are so determined to destroy God's creation that God encoded something in the Bible for the last days. That's why it's sealed up. It's sealed. Why is it sealed? Who's it sealed from? Is it sealed for us, from us? He hid things for us, not from us in here. And it's not to be used to divine. There was a character in the Bible, a person that lived long ago, and you may know him. His name was Laban. He had these daughters, and Jacob wanted one of them. Laban was a heathen, and he had a teraphim, which we read in the scriptures is a detestable thing. It is an idol. It's what Rachel sat on to hide it. Was a teraphim. He also had a ephod, because we're talking about very superstitious people in ancient times, and when he was hearing things about these priests of the Most High God, he probably had to have an ephod, just to be safe, and that's why that's mentioned there. But it didn't make him a priest just because he had an ephod. It didn't mean it worked because he had one. Same thing with the codes. Just because somebody gets the codes program does not mean they have the anointing to wear an ephod. If that makes any sense, because it takes the Holy Spirit, folks, to see these things, to get an interpretation, to navigate through these codes efficiently. And there's not a margin of error you cannot afford. So I try to stay within a certain methodology in my own searching. Now, other people go outside of those realms and expand things and push it to the limits with some of their ELS numbers. It's supposed to be smallest skip and closest proximity would equate, a valid or a predictive code. Of course, this is going on the premise that codes are for predicting, so I think that's flawed to do that. I think it's bigger than that. We're leaving or not considering an important variable, which is man's free will. Because it's both there. So you really can't predict man's free will, but God knows the choices you are going to make anyway, so it's there. You make the choice.
Right.
It happens. So that's the X factor of unknowns in the codes. It makes it very difficult to use it as a crystal ball. So that's clear to me that's not what God intended. It's for things like this, to shed light on things. Like I said, confirm something, to testify to something, those kinds of things. It can be to warn, and I do believe God is able to give us something before it happens. He did that with Drosden and the Yitzhak Rabin table, but he's the one that determines that. It's not me. Mm-hmm. It's not anybody with the codes. If you think you're going to get the codes program and find the lottery numbers, that's not going to happen.
That's Mammon again. Mammon's always getting involved in these things.
And I've seen people they try to manipulate, and there's even a group out there that has a cult going and has people believing that Jesus has already come back, and he's using the code. Yeah, and everybody's heard of him. I ain't going to call his name.
Right.
It's our friend Ray, if you know what I mean. He thinks that he's Jesus, and he uses codes to tell people that. And I've, 5 minutes.
We run into a few Jesuses ourselves. So.
Yeah, and the Bible says you were here. Those that say I am Christ, but until that Mount of Olives splits in two, he ain't here yet. It's
Demons have fun with people like that.
You're right. Run rapid. They run rapid.
Yeah, you said the Mount of Olives it's gonna split. Yes,
the Mount of Olives will split in two. That's not a metaphor. That is a major sign of the end times. It's going to be split in two, so there's actually going to be a water that flows in between.
Oh, okay.
See, Chris, that goes along with our thing again. It goes
along with that's the Sea of Sargasso Sea. The Pillars of Hercules is the mountains of. In ancient history, it said that he split those in two, and there's a mountain on each side. I think one of them is on. Is Mount Sinai, or it's near it over there. But anyway, I'm just thinking maybe if they did these rituals over and over, and how the phoenix rises every 1,000 years, and he supposedly makes his nest in Syria at his end years, and then he turns to ashes, and then he rises again. There's an apple in that story somewhere, but anyway, if I'm just thinking if they did these things throughout history over and over and tried to repeat it and tried to raise the Antichrist, they tried to do this over and over and over again. Now Jesus, he doesn't have to raise again. He rose again. He died and rose again, and the scripture says that that's it. He doesn't have to continue rising. He rose again, and that's it. That's all there is to it. But this Antichrist, they try to raise him over and over and do these rituals, and so that makes a lot of sense to me. So.
Yeah, and the thing with the CERN is, I'm expecting something like an asteroid or a comet to make the pit, and this comes in Revelation 8 around that where Wormwood is, and that was the connection to me to the star that falls, and unto him is given the key. This is that time now. The CERN thing just kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, well, that doesn't really fit. But then looking at it, it's absolutely got some sort of connection, whether it's channeling things to a certain portal or what. But it's definitely connected to the influx of what we're seeing, and that's kind of disturbing. Because if it gets worse, how much worse does it get? When does it stop? When does it stop for the believers? When do they go in a rapture? When is there a tribulation? All of these questions are still people still trying to find out.
So what kind of search terms can we look for, or you can look for related to CERN? We found the Atlas one that Chris was talking about. That looks like a CERN related kind of term.
Let me see what terms I got in here, and I'll read them off.
Okay.
Where's the CERN one?
Because Anthony might have a couple of CERN terms,
And
maybe.
if you got any, let me have them, and I'll search them. And we'll
Well,
keep you.
the main ring is Atlas and Alice and the
Yeah.
LHC. And then Cernunnos is a demon of the gates, and that's a demon, and they named CERN after Cernunnos.
Right. The other thing is, I was wanting to know how many arms was on that Shiva in the thing at CERN. Does anybody know off the top of it? I got a feeling it's 7. I could be wrong about that, but it just feels like it's going to be 7 because Shiva means 7.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just asked somebody to look that up a little while ago, and we haven't found that yet. But it would be interesting to know that that's the pattern of 7s, 333s is here. I looked for the 369, but I think it's.
It looks like she has 4 arms, and she has a shell on her head, and she's dancing on top of a man. Shiva is the female counterpart of what's his name, Anthony?
Well, it's Kali and Shiva.
Oh, Kali and Shiva. Yeah.
Kali like dances on Shiva. Kali is really like the destroyer, and Shiva is kind of like the creator. So out of destruction comes
so
creation.
they're the same deity as Hathor.
They work together. Yeah, it's a dual deity again. They work together.
Hathor and Thoth did the dance back in Egypt, and they're the same deities as Shiva and Kali.
So just running down the list is what we got here. We got, and this is, again, Return of the Raphaim. Nephil, or Nephal, is written backwards several times, fallen with the wickedness. 7 souls. Marduk, the demon, fallen of the days. The Philistines, falling away. The abyss, Teraphim, Mount Hermon. Jehovah, on top of the fallen. That was another thing. There was a connection or a convergence of those 2 words, the fallen and Jehovah, which I showed you the opposite, like light, dark kind of thing. Then we've got the year 5775. At a skip of 1, we've got the word Shemitah, the war in heaven, 77. Nephilim written backwards several times. She's got that twice. Symmetry, Anram, in the days of Noah, the king of Syria, from CERN. The abyss, behold, the days are coming, is there 3 times, 3 pattern. The gate of Yahweh, and stars are referred to in here. Well, it says the Kakamima, it's always stars, is angels. Whether they're fallen or holy, they're in the stars is the angels. Again, this has been really
quite a bit.
We're one of those places where you go and you just like afterwards you're expecting, all right, when's it going to start? And it always seems to catch you off guard. But I'm reminded that it is waves, that we are given breaks in between these warfares, these battles. It's not continuous, but it's definitely connected to doing this kind of thing. You're pretty much thrashing in the ocean with a wound, and the sharks are right there when you're doing this. So I knew immediately that we needed to get this out, and I needed to do some YouTube and get this out as well. But because this is relevant now, and it might sound kooky, it might sound crazy, but if you really look around, people are mad. It's that spiritual drunkenness, that cup of drunkenness that God's going to make people drink, where they're just, they're bizarre. Like, Alex Jones does a really good impression of them as he's like, I won't even try it, but very funny of how these people are just drunken. Spiritual drunkenness is what it is. They're just
now, Matthew, Wormwood is also an angel, and it's a star. So Wormwood is in the Bible. It's supposed to fall from heaven. Do you think that that's the point that the abyss is going to be open?
I believe that is the point, and what we're seeing there is the imagery. John's seeing two things at once. He's seeing this what's happening on a spiritual level in heaven, but the manifestation of it on earth as well. So when the angel is dipping into the altar with the censer to throw something at the earth, that's the imagery in heaven. But what you see in the manifestation is an asteroid or something. I don't think you would see a golden censer flying toward the earth or an angel doing it. But we would see the manifestation of that in the natural realm. There's a veil. I heard you guys talking about it the other day. The veil, the spiritual veil that's between us and the other side. That is very real, and there's come a point where that's gone. Mm-hmm. And you can find this in Revelation when the angel says he petitions the God of heaven for the mystery of God is now over. In other words, I'm paraphrasing. I should look it up, but in other words, everybody's reality is the same. Everybody knows there's a God, there's demons, there's angels. It's all there. You can see it. So there's no mystery of God anymore at that point, and that's like a wake-up call. And that's when people kind of pucker up and go, "This is not a joke." So it's a reality for me right now, because I can see these things, and I'm Mr. Crazy with the Bible Code channel, but there will be a day where everybody's on that same level, and that's that point. There is, however, people now that God has given spiritual eyes, and you can see it. You can see it in people. You can see shadows move, and you can see the intensity of it. And I'm thankful I'm not the only one, because, like I said, out of concern for myself and the safety of others, I'd have probably done something and checked in somewhere. But really, from talking to people about these things and seeing the same exact thing, I mean, describing these things that you see in people, either we're all having the same delusion or we're seeing the same thing. And I don't think it's delusion. I think it's...
Anthony has talked about the clockwork elves before, and how people on DMT and stuff are seeing these things, these MIT type folks. But we definitely believe in, of course, the spiritual manifestations of evil, and I think that's what CERN is doing. Yeah, of course, it's definitely.
Well, it's always been around. I mean, there's been people over. I mean, even back then when David was alive, he had a ring to ward off demons. I mean, they've always been around. I just think that some people are able to see certain things, and God, He allows certain people for whatever His reason is,
And I know some of the crossover stuff I do sounds silly with the pop culture stuff, but I really thought the other day when we were talking about the Ghostbusters movies and that building that they were on, I started thinking of One World Freedom Tower. They built their little Ghostbuster movie building right there with the Kaaba and worship of Lucifer and everything. And I said, I mean, how much more crazy, and there's a big outflowing of that ooze or that emotion that we're talking about, that evil emotions that spills out and takes over populations. Yeah. You can laugh about it. I mean, if you think people are crazy talking about it, but I see that happening now.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and it spreads, and it just like in that movie, that's a good imagery of it. It spreads and it grows, and it's just like you waking up in the morning and something falls on your foot and it breaks your toe, and you go from there to McDonald's drive-through and you cuss out the
exactly
person taking your order, and that person, the chain reaction goes on and on and on. With that, it's passed on that way, just like a dirty STD is what we're talking about here on the spiritual level. Demons in Remphan, it's just nasty. And
the translation of the Remphan and the Chulin and all of that is Saturn. It says it in the translations that's what it is. And these giants are, Saturn was one of the gods that were worshipped way a long time ago, before the flood, and so that has a connection with that DNA. And then if you come across dippings in anything, when I was translating the Jade Helm, In one of my translations, I came to the word dippings.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how they dip the robes in blood. And then I started thinking about CERN and the dipping of that point of the slaying of the Christians and stuff. So that just all came to my mind when I was researching that Jade Helm. So.
And don't forget about the Big Dipper.
Oh yeah, dipper. It's a
That's
word, huh? Dipper.
Well, it's definitely one of the patterns we're looking at with the constellation alignments with the CERN facility itself. We're trying to look at how this thing is supposed to line up astronomically with the as above, so below layout for September when they're supposed to fire off the big shot. What is the layout? What's going on with they're trying to recreate at that time?
The Big Dipper is the sickle. The Egyptians call it the sickle.
Good point.
And it's the leg of the bull, and it is very significant.
And what what's the bull? It's got the sundial in between the horns. It's it's all Baal worship. Like again, the 17th of Tammuz, when Moses came down the first time, they were worshiping the Baals, and that's exactly what we're seeing here in this. It happens to be July 4th. America's.
So are we going to see weeping? Is that what we're?
It could be. It could be because God's not a God of coincidence. So when something happens, it usually means something. Especially when they're overwhelmingly happening on certain days. These feast days typically have something happen. I've seen the patterns of it going all the way back. I mean, we could go back just to Schumacher Levy 9. That was a Shemitah. 21 fragments, the 3 sevens hit Jupiter, or was it? Yeah, it was Jupiter.
Mercury.
Which one was it?
It was Jupiter, and it was 21 fragments in 1990, and and it was a Shemitah time. So the pattern of 7 sticks. There's 3 sevens right there, and then again, this past year we had Ison and Siding Spring and Mars have a conjunction or come together.
Oh yeah.
Which if you've been watching my channel, I thought there was going to be a deep impact because of the word collides in there. But as it were, it was the atmospheres and the discharging of plasma there. But the imagery or the symbolism there, we're talking about the war planet. The war planet, Mars is the god of war, and a omen of a comet coming together at the same time. So this is like a double whammy. You got a comet and the god of war, so you start to see that, and then the blood moons. So the 2015-2016 transition, where it seems like war is all over there. It seemed like God was showing with these blood moons 4 warnings, 2 comets in between, Ison and Siding Spring, and war coming. Of course, the collapse I would expect first. And if you're looking. It's not a movie. It's actually happening.
Yeah.
It seems surreal, but I mean it's real.
Yeah, we're actually looking with Pete Santilli's stuff towards the early May 9th. He was saying this. I mean, we're watching for Greece basically to see if Greece falls off the cliff, and if that happens, then the ripple effects begin. That's just speculation again, but that's kind of what we're looking at, where this thing might be going. But
you guys would know better than me. Like I said, it's literally a few days ago I come across you like we did, and I took it as a God thing, and he really led me to look at this because it was something I'd stayed away from. L.A. Marzulli, love the guy, but some of the stuff he talks about. They'll put you in a hospital for, and so I was trying
to we're tin hat friendly around here.
Yeah, I should have wore one of those. But I try to keep it Bible, man, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about things from the Bible. They're valid. They're part of the end time as well, and to ignore it or discount it when he clearly says, "As the days of Noah."
Absolutely.
Yeah, clearly.
That's an indication of something. And
yeah, I had told you I wish that we had a code searcher program for the Book of Enoch, because there's all kinds of interesting terms we could have fun with And my favorite would be, of course, rapture. But you already said that you think Enoch's coming back as a witness, which I find fascinating because I have always enjoyed Enoch as an individual walking with God. I mean, that's like, wow.
And it's
That's
very,
what every Christian should want, to walk with God, you know.
very significant. He was a seventh man. He was a Gentile, and God chose a Gentile to listen back and forth with the grafting, the seed. He was taking from the Gentiles the wild olive tree. He took a clipping and he established the natural, which came Noah and the 3 sons, and from there back and forth. He would do this. He even, to Romans 11, where we see the ingrafting of the church back again into the natural tree. I think it's God staying ahead of these angels in keeping a people pure, because if left unchecked, these things would have, cancer would have, cancer of.
Right, they called it the scarlet thread, where they are always trying to end the line somehow, trying to head off God. And I think Mark's really got into that. You were talking about the cosmic chess match, always trying to jump ahead and head it off at the pass.
And time is a restrainer too, as well. We were talking about a restrainer earlier.
Yeah, that's neat.
I believe it's an angel, but what his capabilities is, or his strength is, I believe, is the time paradigm there. It's not eternal. We're not talking about eternity or infinity. We're talking about a linear beginning and end. So that has to run out naturally for us, but they can't catch up as far as technology until we run through that time. And here we are. I mean, they were perfectly capable of doing these things in the time of Noah, but they didn't have forges. They didn't have steel and iron and microchips. They didn't have computers. All those things had to be developed. And for God, it's an appointed time. It was appointed for that time. They had to wait on it. Now we're here. And it's all hell breaking out. It's wartime now. It's the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's close for sure. I mean, God's been getting me ready for a long time.
Oh yeah,
He sure woke me up. I'll tell you what.
Oh, he woke up. Yeah, he woke you up. He woke up. Anthony's got books because he got woken up. He said, I got to write these things because God's putting it on me to get it out there. Did you have any search terms, Anthony, that were related that you might want to add, that you just popping off? I know for me, neutrinos keeps jumping in our lap, and I don't know why.
Neutrinos, right.
I don't know why we keep running into that one, Chris, but we keep running into neutrinos.
What does that actually mean? I don't.
Anthony would be.
Let me play dumb here so that the audience could get the lowdown on what that is.
Yeah, neutrinos are quantum particles that do not have a charge. They're neither positive or negative, and they move at near the speed of light, and they are so small and so massless. In other words, so little weight that they pass right through the Earth without any appreciable change in speed.
Wow.
So, and we're also dealing with the whole concept of the quantum level of the concept of sealing or being sealed. That's another one of these topics that we want to address and see if we can get something out of that. But,
how much time we got? Because I could show you a little teaser of another one. It's actually called it's the Obama dictator one I was telling you about. It's
about 25 minutes.
You got 25 minutes? Okay.
Well, let me just kind of go over a little bit of it. It's a bigger table. It would probably take an hour, but we'll cover some parts of it. It's pretty interesting.
Okay. Sure thing.
It's got a mention of the United Nations in here, which is interesting that they have a station on this mountain, the United Nations.
Wow. Oh yeah, I remember that now.
And all the imagery of that, which is the circle of stars, in the story of Gideon circled around this camp with all of these 300 swords, 300 lamps, 300 vessels, and it looked like a circle of stars that when they blew the trumpets, the frequency caused the enemy to go mad, and they started killing one another.
Frequencies.
Yeah, the frequencies of these shofars.
Did you search frequencies also?
I think we did search frequency.
Okay, cool.
And I got to go back and look if we found it or not, because there's a lot of hits and misses.
That's all right.
Some things that you think would be there aren't there, and some things you don't think would be there are there sometimes. But yeah, this circle of stars, these fallen angels, definitely discern, circle, and all of that is something diabolical going on there with it. And I find it fascinating, even though it's just kind of stepping out of the realm of the gospel in the Bible. But to actually consider that there is possibly things that we don't understand taking place, that's extra biblical, that maybe can be explained when we're in the millennium. I don't know. I don't think we're given all the answers, but these beings know what they're doing. They have a game plan, and like I said, we're just caught in the middle of this war, which is what it's all about. It's
oh yeah, it's war. That's for sure. You better have your armor on and learn to fight. Yeah.
Isn't there a hotel on this mountain?
Hotel.
Isn't it just an observatory, and then they have the thing of Pan down below it on this mountain? Don't they have the that thing dedicated to Pan, which is almost like Cernunnos, almost similar.
Yeah, and what happened, Jesus went there for the Transfiguration, and he talks about the keys of hell and of death and the grave, and what he was doing was declaring in a pagan occupied mountain victory right there in there. And so he went deep into enemy territory and was declaring he was going to take the keys to death, hell, and the grave at what they believed was the gates of hell, which was right there, where they had all these grottos where they would have Baals worshiping and things going on. So yeah, that's where that happened. And for him to physically die and go to hell, and he atone for us, that's what he did. He took the keys, or the sting, or the curse of death from hell, and redeemed. That's the first fruits.
And I saw that in your chart, the chart with the cross there.
Yeah.
I thought of him having the keys, and then they got locked in to this timeline, this time thing. And that's what that cross jumped out to me as going, he defeated him, and they got imprisoned.
Yeah.
In what they did.
Yeah, they're locked in. It's interesting that there's 4 at Euphrates reserved, and it specifies for a month, for a week, for a day, for a year. It's all very specific timing.
Interesting.
It's very specific. So
So we're talking about Syria here, right?
Actually, I think it's Babylon or the Mesopotamia, that plateau, that
the two rivers, Euphrates and the
come together. It's a very fertile.
Okay, I was talking about Mount Hermon in Syria.
Yeah, well, Mount Hermon is where the observatory is.
Yeah, that's a Golan Heights. It's northern Israel. But as far as the Tigris and where the 4 angels are, that's where it is.
Oh,
in Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So now, which area are you talking about right now where Jesus did this?
Well, the Pan thing was at where the UN observatory at Mount Hermon is. It was down below, and he declared victory there, and then they built this observatory up on the top. So there's a lot of things about this mountain that are really interesting.
Okay, because I know in Iraq, in Eridu, there's the Marduk temple and Inanna's temple, and there was supposed to be a Stargate under there. So I was just wondering the location.
That's why we went into Iraq and built that $1 billion military outpost.
Okay, he has his chart up here.
Oh, cool. Here we go.
And this term here is Obama, the dictator.
Wow.
This term, yeah. Some of the things right off the bat I saw there, which is the land of Egypt. He's been connected to this Akhenaten image. Looks very similar.
Me and Chris think that they changed that on purpose, maybe for him representing the Mahdi to the Muslims or something.
But, his statue.
Yeah.
Well, it says here he's from the house of the slaves, or there's a house of slaves right here.
Wow.
The word Barak
Oh, didn't his family, weren't they involved in selling slavery and selling slaves? Wasn't that his
I don't,
whole group was involved in, they were slavers or something like that? Go ahead. No, it's
yeah,
I actually picked that up somewhere. I don't know where it was, but go ahead.
we got Barak here with Biet, and the 6 letters you see there says from the house of his master. Stopping there. With the word, if you use those 5 letters, is breeding or bread, right there, breed or bread. If it's used by itself. Now, in context of the passage, it's something else. But just alone, we've got those words coming together with breeding. That's pretty interesting. This word here means hold on just a second. I think it means validated or just a second. Sorry about that. This is one that I should have studied more before getting into.
You know that his
The
father
goal.
was from the Lu tribe.
Really?
That's what I'm trying to
Yes,
think.
and in Africa, that was the little horn of Africa.
Ah.
That's the goal here. This is the goal. And you have the king of Babylon connected to the mem in his name.
Wow.
The fallen right here.
Yeah.
Also, the mirror effect. You could see that there was letters that would come together, like you see 2 reshes, 2 olives, 2 shins. It's a mirror effect. And if you read it from the resh over, it means the head or the leader.
Oh.
Same kind of effect in this passage here from Ecclesiastes is this. I'm not sure what the word is, but with the 2 laments, the 2 vowels, and then you got a hey and a tav on one either side. It's also similar, just slightly different with the tav. Look at this. We've got hand in hand. He was speaking, and from God with the Holocaust running right through there, all coming together. Now, hand in hand seems to be significant with this verse and what is up here. But before I read it, let me just cover this. This is America in yellow, and this is from the beast in blue, right there. Also, this is the word Chaldeans, where you could take off those 2 letters, and just like any other table, you have the 3 that mean demon. Now watch this. You have demon, and reading from the Vav over this way, because you have the word Allah in here, it says demon also from Allah. Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Wow.
Over here, before we get into the verses, we've got the United Nations. This is what I want you to see. United Nations. We've got the gate, death, died, and attrition in the green come together.
Boy.
Very interesting.
Jeez.
Cluster of words. Philistine, Ishmael, war, war over the house, war over the house of God. How about that? There's 3 there, 3 wars. Raphaim, and of course every one of the verses, in some way or another, have something to do with the deceiver or a man of violence, one of the races of giants, and so on and so on. I just, like you see, every one of these have a connection. We'll look at 2, and then the rest you'll have to watch in a video because we won't be able to cover everything. So let me just show you this green one connected to hand in hand. Speaking and from God is Ecclesiastes 10:13, and it says, we'll start at 12. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow himself. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness. Who are we talking about? The beginning of words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness.
Well, you could put OB on there, a BO right on that verse.
Right. It says, "O fool also is full of words, and man cannot tell what shall be and what shall be after him. Who can tell him?" Same thing here with the fool. A labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth how to go to the city. So this
What scripture is this again?
this is Ecclesiastes that we're
Okay,
in.
Ecclesiastes 10,
Words of
13, and 14.
yeah, I believe that's it.
Obama.
And here it comes, talks about for the drunkenness and the slothfulness of building the decay, the idleness of the hands of the house of. It says, by such slothfulness building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. Is continuing on in that, but this blue verse up here is in Psalms. Psalms 106 and part of 105, 44 and 45. Look at that, the number 44.
Oh boy!
And
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, 44 is the other thing. Everything I find about him, and you can see it's even in, I believe, in the it's in the width right there. You can see the 44.
Half the 88s. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're in again. This is Psalms. We'll start the last two. And he gave them the lands of the heathen, and they inherited the labor of the people, that they might observe his statute and keep his laws. Praise the Lord. And then it goes into 106. Praise the Lord. I'll give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, and his mercy endures forever. Who can utter the mighty acts of the Lord? Who can shew forth all his praise? Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he doeth righteous at all times. Remember me, O Lord, when the favor thou bearest to thy people. Visit me with salvation. So what we got is hand in hand. The wisdom of God, of keeping his judgments, or the foolishness there. So it's a huge connection of God giving us a choice. There's verses that explain God's a merciful God. It's not his will that we should be destroyed. But it says here, we have sinned with our fathers and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly. Our fathers understood not the wonders of Egypt, and they remembered the multitude of thy mercies, but provoked him at the sea, even the Red Sea. They were provoked with all that they saw with God.
Right, exactly.
They still had a problem.
Short-term memory.
Yeah, and it's like you're seeing the same thing in this country as well. It's the same kind of
exactly same
parallel.
thing. Same thing.
And again, I will mention just this before we finish. As you can see, the word there highlighted in black is found in Psalms. What is the word Hallel? And this is what's used in Isaiah to describe Lucifer. The word means to praise. And so what we got going across here is to praise, to praise, to praise, to praise, praising, praising, praise, praise, to praise. And again, we're talking about who? You see the parallel there. This was taken from him, by the way. This name?
Yes.
Was his name in heaven, and God took it from him. Is Hallel.
So Hallel was removed from Lucifer?
Yeah, he was called the praise angel. Hallel was one of his names, and he was given the name Satan. So this name, which is a holy name God gave him, was stripped from him. This is also a reference to the ways of the serpent, or excuse me, let's just quote that exactly. We're in, let's see. I thought this was it. This is 10 right before the verse we read. We didn't read this. So it's 10:11. This is connection to the serpent here. It says, surely the serpent will bite without enchantment. Surely the serpent will bite is what I had highlighted, but it says here without enchantment. So he needs not to be enchanted. He's going to bite. The end of you see that. And the babbler is no better.
Again, frequencies and enchantment and flutes and all that stuff.
King of Assyria, right here, is in there. So there's a lot of things that indicate not a good time. We've got mercy and justice, or mercy and judgment side by side.
Interesting. And that's parallel to the hand-in-hand one?
This is right there with hand-in-hand, and this is a green verse that runs through there, is in Hosea.
Wow. Mercy or judgment, or hand, yeah.
12:8. is where we are in this. So let's see what it says in Hosea there. He is a merchant. The balances of deceit are in his hand. He loveth to oppress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Jeez. That says it all.
That crosses his name, yeah. And so Ephraim said, "Yet I have become rich, and I have found out substance in all my labors. They found nothing, none iniquity in me that were sin." So again, here the connection to Egypt. We got a tabernacles and the day of the solemn feast. So again and again and again is a connection to.
Wow.
And I'll just share one more. I know, just kind of 28. Oh yeah, again, a connection to the covering cherub. This is again Satan. Ezekiel 28. You can see verse 15. Here it is. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created, till iniquity is found in thee. And that's right across his name. Right with his name it says, the house of his master, the house of his master. And that verse from 28, there's the connection. Thou wast perfect in thy ways when thou was created. This is the covering cherub. This is the one who walked among the stones of fire. And he is the one who was arrogant, and pride, by the way, is the that word is the sin that he cast out.
That one gets us all. Yeah, that's for sure.
Right there. No problem. By the way, is a key is a word of the day, or trigger word, I guess. Judah. We've got a connection to Judah and war here. War is in the ELS here with the blue letters.
Okay.
Usually in the plain as a skip of one, like right here, but it also appears connecting into the house of slaves there. Also at the top we got the swords and war evenly. It seems like a balance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, war and swords. Yeah.
Well, let's. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in Egypt, well, United Nations, their war hats are blue, and so were they in Egypt. They were blue. War hats were blue. And and in Egypt,
that just that's just a coincidence. Yeah.
Their hats were red, white, and blue in Egypt.
Wow. Yeah. Well.
That's more. I guess we are going back.
Still, it's not complete. There's still a lot here. Little details you can pick up where God will show you these little things that just seem to resonate with your soul. You're just like, I know that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think we're going to wrap up right here, just because we come to the end. Chris has to go do something also, and but this was a mind-blowing, I think, amount of information. It definitely helps. But would you like to give where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube on Code Searcher. You just search Code Searcher, or you can go to BibleCodeNow.com is a place. It's a blog there that you can find stuff over there, and some links also as well at my site that you can find other things. So
I'll put your website on in our description box if anyone's interested in that. And so
I think this was timely, don't you?
Yeah, I do believe it was timely, and I'm one who believes in appointed times, and it was definitely an experience. Really, I didn't expect to see such things and experience such things, but it doesn't surprise me what we were looking at, and somebody reminded me of that. That's definitely a connection there, and that's nothing to be so surprised at, even though when it happens you're like, what is going on? But you stop and consider what you're doing, and everything that's happening. It's very real, and like I said, it's not a game. I make light of it. We might joke around a little bit here, but it's very serious.
Warfare is very serious. They want to kill us. They definitely want to kill us. So there's nothing funny about it, even though we might joke from time to time.
What can you do? We're talking about the end of the world. It's not. People are upset. They don't want doom and gloom. They want to hear about an escape. They want to hear about better times, or better times ahead. But the fact is, it's not going to happen like that. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
We're in that place where, there's crushing of the grapes. There's different harvests that's going to happen, and so there's some bad times for certain people, not everybody, but really bad times. But there is also that great hope and that blessed hope that that we will be with the King. So it's really not about us. It's about the wicked and the fallen that are going to go.
You read the book of Jasher, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I can't say read. I do use.
Or you read it?
Well, I've referred to my friend Robert Farrell, who has a channel as Apocrypha. He does a very good narration of those books. Very awesome testimony. He was an atheist, and God used those books to change his life.
You said Joseph Farrell?
Robert Farrell.
I think Robert.
Oh, Robert.
Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the part of that book where, Terah was Nimrod's priest or whatever, leader of his army. And, Abraham's God was different from his father's God and Nimrod's God. But when Nimrod put him in the fire, he just walked around because it said God loved him. And I just think that God loves his coveted people, and his angels are all around us all the time, his holy angels. And so it's wonderful. We have to trust in God's will because he's perfect.
I hear a timer.
Amen. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. We really appreciate it, and we'll definitely stay in contact and be looking for, the help with the codes and things like that. And maybe we'll get you back on in the future if you come up across something that you think that the whole tinfoil hat community needs to hear. So.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, though.
All right. God bless you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This is great. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.